Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Red Tinted Glasses podcast. This one is a very special one, as Glen sat down with Joey Harper, King of the Beach End, Aberdeen legend, for an interview. I was there, however, on this occasion I was behind camera, but I really enjoyed sitting there listening to King Joey. I'll be honest, it was fantastic. I could have listened to him all day. But before we get into things, I can ask you to please leave a like on the video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe if you've not done so already for plenty more content like this. Follow us wherever you're listening in if you're listening on audio. And follow us on Twitter at RTG_podcast and on Instagram on RTG.podcast. On Twitter you'll be able to find details of how to win this fantastic Aberdeen FC whiskey signed by the man himself, Joey Harper, and in doing so you'll be raising money for Aber Necessities, who provide disadvantaged families with the essential and basic necessities that no children should go without. Their details will also be linked in the description of the YouTube video. But with all that out the way, all that's left to say is enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Red Tinted Glasses, and a special episode because it's been a long time since we've done one of these. It's an interview, and I'm delighted to welcome Joey Harper, the King of the Beach End. Joey,
thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, pleasure to have you on. We're sitting live on location at Cafe 48 in Pitmedden, so big thanks to Tracy for allowing us to use the meeting room. A great little cafe in Pitmedden for those maybe that live nearby to come down and check. But Joey, how are you keeping yourself? Are you keeping fine?
I was keeping alright until I had to walk up the stairs. Yeah, I'm not too bad. It's been a horrendous year in a way. You know, I've had COVID. I mean, I've had COVID. I've not just had it, I've had it and been in a hospital for 10 days with it. And I must admit, I did think at one point that maybe I'm not way to come out of this, you know. But I'm okay. I was always confident only the good die young, so that was but no, I had that, and then I had a stroke about 8 weeks ago at the St Mirren game. I had it before, and I had it in the house actually, but I didn't realise it. I've had a stroke before 18 years ago, and that was a real stroke. You know, I mean, the mouth was down, and thing was paralysed down the right hand side for quite a while. Recovered from that, and they tell me I've got another stroke. So what happened was I got up in the morning. The last thing I do anymore, I was very superstitious as a footballer. And I used to do this. The last thing I did before I went out on the park was put my boots on. Okay. So the last thing I put my shoes on, I put my suit on, I got everything on, just put my shoe on, you know, and put my left on and bent down, put my right on. And I felt okay until I stood up, and then I felt as if somebody just stuck a bit of rubber under my sole, you know, my foot was sort of bouncy. And I drove to the game with Sheila, and I went in, and the longer I went there before the game started, and the walking I was doing, my foot was getting bouncier and doing, just first time my right foot's ever done what I didn't want it to do. It was going one way and I was going the other way. So somebody told me they reckoned it was a mini stroke. It was one of the backroom staff at the Pittodrie, Sheila and Gomes, that tried to get a doctor, but the doctors had gone behind my back, in fact. And he came through to take the arm and he said, it's a mini stroke. It's called a TIA. He said it should last for maybe 24, maybe 48 hours, and then it should be okay, you know. He said, but you should still maybe go to the hospital with phone 111. So I went home with phone 111, left the phone line for about 3 hours, never answered, you know. So left it until the next day, phoned the doctor, eventually got the doctor, and she said, oh, come in on Monday. Went in on Monday, and then she sent me, she got me a visit to the hospital. Well, in the end, they said I had a mini stroke. And I found out about mini stroke, and it seemed all right. It wasn't as bad as the first one. There's no mouth coming down or like that. And then that was it. Got a couple of tests of the head. I found nothing as usual, you know. So I remember it seemed to be okay. I was getting better. And then they said, no, it wasn't a mini stroke, it was a full stroke. I thought, I mean, I had a full stroke, and it was entirely different. You know, my whole side, my mouth was down, my hand was right. She said, the brain's a wonderful thing, Joe. It does different things.
So you do have something in there.
So I did. And that was it. But since then, I've been really good. So I'm over the first stroke, and certainly the second stroke now, I'm over it, you know. took me about maybe a fortnight, I think. And COVID, I'm over that, test myself maybe once every 3 weeks or something like that, and it's all right.
No, well, it's
I'm in a good way, good place just now.
Good.
Ready for a comeback.
Yeah, well, we might need you if the goals start drying up. But no, it's good to see you in good health, and really grateful that you've taken the time to join us on the podcast today. So we'll start, since you've not lost your sense of humour, we'll start with a few quick fire questions. So the first one is Pitmedden or Greenock? Which would you prefer?
Greenock.
Greenock?
No, well, it took me long enough to get out. 16, that was long enough. No, we love it up in Aberdeen. We love it up in Pitmedden. We moved out of town 10 years ago, and it's just a great place. Everybody gets on really well. You get nice wee places like this. You get the craft bar at Morton Road. So we really do. It's a better place for us all.
Yeah. No, it is a nice village. Whiskey or Newcastle Brown?
Whiskey. I've never. I tasted Newcastle Brown once, and it was about 7, 8 years ago. I came out. No, I don't know. That there used to be a bar just behind Pittodrie.
The Broad Hill.
Broad Hill bar, and that was I don't know how long ago. It was maybe longer. And me and my 6 mates had been at a game. We decided we were going to walk up the town. So we thought, let's go in here first and let the crowd get away. So we went into this pub, and we're standing talking, and this boy came up and he "Hey, you got Joey?" He handed me one of these Newcastle Brown. I says, what's that? He said, you know the song, let's get Newcastle Brown, Joe. I says, but son, I've never drunk Newcastle. He said, you have. It says in the song you have. And so I left it at that, but no, I did taste it that day. Actually, I had to taste it because he bought it and he brought it over for me. So he says, so I tasted it. It was horrible. You can keep it, and you go. It fitted in with the song well. That was a good thing about it.
It does, and Calum's here for any editing purposes. So we're glad we never brought you along some today, because we did think we should have done so. Maybe a good idea. The next one is, if you're stuck on a desert island with 3 former teammates, who would you want to be stuck with?
Neil Cooper, Arthur Green, Drew Jarvie.
Just to get up to a lot of mischief then.
No, just really good people and fun people. Drew, because he's the best player I've played with up front, and anywhere in any game, with Joe Jordan and Stevie Archibald and all these guys, they're all great players, and I love playing with them. But Drew and I just this magic thing between us, supernatural thing. I seem to know where he was at. 1966 Cup Final is a perfect example. After Drew had given the penalty away, although he says to this day he never broke any of those. He only brought him down by here, top of his chest. That's where he brought him down. And but the equalising goal, Arthur Green crossed the ball at the far post, and I was way beyond the far post. I knew I couldn't get a goal out of it. I knew I wasn't going to score. And as I'm thinking that to myself, and I'm going to head it straight back that way, I can always see, you always knew Drew was coming in somewhere. You'd see him coming in outside the eye somewhere. I could see him coming in, it was perfect. He knew it. He says to me, I knew it was too far for me to score a goal. You knew it was too far, so you had to put it one place. And I put it in your post and just head that in. Just
have that instinct nature.
It's a great thing. Arthur was a great wee kid. What a player he was as well. Fantastic. And Neil Cooper, well, God bless him. I wouldn't say I brought Neil up, but he died. His father had died about 3 or 4 months before, and he was really down. He was only a kid at the time. I think he was about 13, 14 or something like that. And his mother had written me a letter and asked me if I could kindly get him down to Pittodrie and show him around the place, just to show him around Pittodrie. And she told me about his father then, and I said, yeah, no problem. So I organised with the club, so we walked through the park and blah, blah, blah. And I says to him, do you play football? And he said, yeah, I played for the school. And he says he loved football. One day he wanted to play with Aberdeen and Scotland. And I said, oh, that's great. That's what I used to do. I used to think that, and I used to dream that, so keep that in there, son. And then I said, I had an idea, because I had a cute wee bugger named really blonde hair, cute wee guy. I says, I saw you play for the school team. Aye. What position? At midfield. I said, do you want to come down for a day's training with us? His face lit up, oh yeah. I said, well, when's your next holiday? So it was only about a fortnight away. I said, right, I'll sort of, didn't know if I could get up there or not, but I was going to sort it one way or another, so I got him down. I said, spoke to the boss about it, and he says, no problem, she'd bring him down. So I brought him down. Within 5, 6, maybe 10 minutes at the most, I knew he was going to make it in the game. The player says, how do you know that? I said, because he tackled me 5 times in the gravel park, slide tacking and hammered me 5 times. I said, so that's how I knew he was going to make it. And he did. And he's just a great guy, funny boy, really funny boy, and a lovable boy when he didn't have anybody, sadly died. So that was it.
Yeah, no, it was. He was a great storyteller. Who's your footballing inspiration growing up?
My grandfather. He was Pelé was a player I adored before anybody else, to the extent. I remember watching 1958 World Cup, was it? When they played Sweden in the semi-final, I think it was. He was a 16 or 17-year-old kid, scored a couple of great goals. It was either 50 or 54. I'm sure it was 58.
I wasn't born then, so
it was 50. It was 58. And from that day on, I mean, I was 10 at the time, I mean. And from that day on, I wanted to be a footballer anyway. I just wanted to play football every minute of the day with a tennis ball and stuff like that. I wanted to be a player to the extent that we used to always go to, in the winter time especially, we used to always go to the street, back at 7 o'clock. Now, in those days, there wasn't a lot of cars about because nobody had cars in those days in the streets, maybe one car. We played from one lamppost to the pavement, across the street to the other lamppost to the pavement. That was your goals, right? And it was a tennis ball we played with. And we used to go out, and in those days they were saying, I want to be Jimmy Johnson, or I want to be, Rangers players, something like that. Wally Henderson, says Wally Henderson. And I came out one day and I wanted to be Pelé. But that's, he was my favourite player. So.
Yeah. Our last one then before we get into it proper. Would you rather a hole-in-one or score a cup-winning goal? I know you're a big golfer.
A hole-in-one or what?
Score the cup-winning goal.
Just scoring a goal in the cup would be, I've had a hole-in-one. And I've scored in the cup, so.
Yeah. Which one gave you the better feeling?
The penalty kick again. So, I mean, when you're talking about football, we talk about 108,000 people a game, and somebody throws you a ball and says you've got to score this. You think all sorts of things went through your mind, but all I thought about was getting the ball in the net. The great thing about it was that I was hitting against the Aberdeen end. So when I looked up, it was just 40,000 Aberdonians, jumping about mad. And I hadn't even touched the ball yet. I was actually walking out the box and after the game, so I shouted for my left-hand side. They were all arguing. It was held up for 9 minutes in the penalty kick. And they were all arguing with the referee. I started to walk out the park. And Arthur threw the ball to me. He shouted, Joe. And the ball came over chest high. So I just caught at my chest, onto my knee, onto my foot, and I walked to keeping it up. Maybe 5, 6 in the yards. So I'll tell you about the story after that. So anyway, we got the penalty kick, and as I say, nobody else would take it anyway. They were trapping themselves doing that. It's just me on my own. And it's probably, I would say it's definitely the best penalty kick I've ever taken in my life. Things go through your mind, obviously, in a situation like that, especially a situation like that. And the first thing that went through my mind was me missing a penalty kick at school at 14, against the Gourock High School. And I hit the post and missed it. And it was a semi-final. But fortunately, the replay, I didn't get a penalty, but we won the game and I scored, so it's okay then. So if that thing goes through your mind, should I change it or I never change it. One other thing I changed in my first game at Everton, I'll tell you about later on. So I just went up, and I always went up and looked. I was always standing away looking at that post as opposed to that post. I always stood at that angle, and I always ran up as if I was going to hit it in the angle. At the last minute, I just turned my foot, not my body, my foot, and it went that way, and it went in, and it hit the side net, which is perfect. Goalkeeper going, he'd already gone and to the left anyway, and he's falling on his backside when the ball hit the net. So what I feel now is, and to see all these red jerseys been up in the air, it's fantastic. I turned around to Celtic and there's 60,000 supporters, and they're just stunned by it. So that was great.
Yeah.
My hole-in-one at Craveston, number 6 hole, I used a rescue club. I knew I'd hit it well, but the sun was in our eyes. Fortunately, one of my pals, one of my best pals was there. He was golfing that day, and we're watching it. And I'm like, try to look at it, and I never saw it. I just didn't. I said, "I can see the button. Is it too far?" So I don't know. He said, "It seemed that way, but So what do I actually walked past the hole.
Oh, okay.
Right, but no, so then we walked back and it was lying in a hole. So that was.
Yeah. Good to be understated, thinking you'd overhit it rather than perfection. So we'll get into it then, Joey. So you were born in 1948 and grew up in Greenock. What's your earliest footballing memory from growing up as a kid? Was it playing on the street as a youngster with your pals?
Yeah, my earliest memory was, but at that World Cup 1958 with Pitmedden, we were in Helensburgh at the time, having a wee weekend over there, and I was watching the telly over there, and there was a black and white telly, and the end, colour telly's no sense, and this is when I saw the game. So that was my first memory of the things that I wanted to do. I wanted to play like Pele, the World Cup, which I did. Okay, 17 minutes doesn't matter. So exactly. I wanted to score for my country, which I've done. And I wanted to win cups and leagues, which I've done. So I'd done everything. But that was the earliest when I was out in the streets playing, we always played a different, you're always a different team. I remember being Eintracht, because Eintracht and I played in the European Cup final at Hampden against Real Madrid. Real Madrid beat them 6-3. Just things like that, But every day, my school was literally 5 minutes from the house. My primary school was literally 5 minutes from the house. And I used to go up, and I was in the school playground for 8 o'clock. And I had a tennis ball. And if you've got a ball, you always got a game of football, right? So I used to go there and play from 8 o'clock till 5 to 9. And then out for a break at 10 o'clock, we'd play for 10 minutes. And then lunchtime, my mum and dad worked, so I had lunch, which I didn't bother about really. Played football. 4:45, I think it was. Played football from 4:45 till 5:10. And that's when my parents came in about 5:10. We used to spread up the road at 5:10, into the house, and be at a coal fire. So my job was, when I came in, to get the coal fire up and running, right? So it was all done for me. All set, the wood, the paper, the wood, the coal. And I used to have a newspaper that wasn't burning, I used to put it up in front of it. Many a time it got in flames, And that was my job. So that was it. So football, and then have your tea, and then back out in the street again, playing again.
Still a bit dark.
Yeah, never stop. I remember once, I remember boots, and my tennis ball was my favourite thing I could have. I was given a big ball at Christmas once, and it was really good, but we had to go to the park to play that. It's too big for the street. But I remember we stayed in a close, and I used to always head the ball, tennis ball against the wall, boom, boom, see how many I could get. And I set my target at 5,000, right? Headers. Many a time I wasn't far away, but kept it. And it was a year and a half, and about 5 days to the day that I made the promise to get it, that I got the 5,000. I didn't go another step. I could have gone 5-1, 5-2, 5-3, didn't I? I stopped. Because I just wanted to be it. Because I wasn't going to stand there again and say, try and beat 5,000. So that's the sort of thing that I did. In the house, I used to do a long landing. So I used to lie on my back in the landing and keep the ball at my feet and overhead kicks, practice overhead kicks and that. It's just football. So stupid.
Yeah, just seemed to just live and breathe it. That was ingrained. So I suppose
big North supporter as well.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so as growing up in Greenock, tend to be most will support Morton at that time. So what was it like then for you when you eventually did sign for Morton as a teenager? Was that the dream for you then at that early years to sign for Morton?
Yeah. Rangers and Celtic wanted me, and I remember it was a Friday night. I got a call from Irvine Meadow Juniors. There's Irvine Meadow and there's Irvine Victoria, right? And this boy said to me, he says, "Oh, in fact, I'm telling you, my school teacher said to me, he says, Irvine Meadow, I want to play a friendly game for him, Joe. Would you go and do that?" I said, "Yeah." And in those days, if you're going to sign senior, you had to sign a junior form first, because if you didn't sign a junior form, you couldn't come back from senior, from professional to junior without having signed that form, you know. So I signed for Guru Juniors who were just a bit defunct, but that was part of the deal, you know. So we're down Irvine Meadow, we beat Irvine Vic 4-1. I scored the 4 goals. I was only 15 at the time, just not far off 16, but I was only 15 at the time. And I'm in amongst a lot of men, so a bit embarrassing that. But I remember putting my shoe on this guy, and I thought, my sock, you know, it's in my shoe, I probably do it. It's £10 note. And I says, "Any of you guys lost £10?" And this wee guy started going, "Shh, you're right, that's yours, son." I'm like, "What? That's yours." So this guy apparently was a scout for Rangers. And he's talked to me, he says, "I'd like to come and see us." "Well, you need speak for our parents." So he came up on the following Friday. The Celtic scout had been at the game as well. He came up on the Friday as well. He'd phoned us and said he'd come over. I said, "Okay." And then we spoke to them. We gave them the same answer. My grandfather was there. He was my sort of nemesis. He was the one that played football. My dad was a boxer, you know. So he was giving me all the advice and stuff like that. So we says to the Rangers, "Right, we'll give you our answer on Wednesday." She says to the Celtic guy, and the Rangers goes, "Okay, we'll speak to you, we'll give you our answer on Wednesday." Now, in the meantime, on the Sunday night, Hal Stewart had come up, knocked the door. Now, obviously, I didn't know who the other two were, but I knew who Hal was because I'd been going to watch the games and stuff like that. He said, "Hello, Joe." I says, "Hello, Mr. Stewart, can I help you?" She says, "Can I speak to your mum and dad?" I didn't even say hi. I said, "Dad, it's Hal Stewart." My granddad was there as well. She said, "It's Hal Stewart, I want to speak to you." She said, "Tell me, come on." So he came in, gave my dad a bottle of whiskey, gave my mum a box of chocolates, and he said, "We'd like to sign Joe." And I was like, "Oh." He says, "You know, we've watched," I didn't realise this, but every school game, every cup game, I played 3 cup games when I was in primary school in the years, you know, up building up to secondary school, and 3 cup games in secondary school, finals, 6 finals, we won them all. And I didn't realise that all through this thing, Hal Stewart had been watching this, you know, what he's watching me especially. So when he told me that, I was like, "Oh, shit." So he says to Hal Stewart, right, he says, "Come back on Wednesday," he says, "We'll let you know." So when I went, I was like, "All right, so what do you do, Darren? What, Rangers?" You know, in those days, you're Protestant Catholic, they paid church, weren't giving us, it didn't bother me, because my mother was a Catholic, my dad was Protestant, you know, so that was okay. But they're all like, "Oh, you go to a Protestant school, you've got to go for Rangers, go to a Catholic school, you've got to go." But anyway, my dad and my granddad both said at the same time, "No, you'll go to Morton." And I was delighted, but I was bemused by this. He said, "Why? I mean, Rangers top of the league, Celtic second top of the league, you know." Or he said, "Because you're better going to a big pool. No, you're better going into a wee pool, you need a big fish, and then into a big pool, and a wee fish." Come on. What's he talking about? 50 years ago, and they're talking about fishes and stuff like that, you know. And I explained it to him. I said, "Okay then." So that was it. Hal Stewart came up, we told the Rangers, and said, thank you, but no. And my dad explained, my granddad had said to me, he says, "Listen, Joey, explanation is," he said, "if you go to Morton and you become a big fish at Morton, you'll move over on to better things.
Yeah.
You go to Rangers and Celtic, you might not get a game for so long, even in the reserve, because of the amount of people they had at the club, He says, and you might people just be in the reserve forever.
Yeah.
So that was it. So,
Hindsight paid off in the end, and it did, because you had 2 spells with Green and Morton. You scored 74 goals in 122 appearances over that time. What was it about playing for Morton that things just seemed to click well on the pitch?
Well, first of all, excuse me, when I played with Morton, I played right wing. I was number 7. There's 4 apprentices. Billy Sinclair, Ian Henderson, a boy Sharp, I think his name was, who Dundee, and I came from Dundee area, and myself. So we were the guys who did the part during the day. That was our job, a full-time job, during the day. And we used to go with a team when they were going away on trips. We'd be the captain, and we'd take the hampers and stuff. But you still got a game, you're still playing. So we used to go to Arnhem in Denmark, our house in Denmark, and play friendlies or in that area against teams, And what we did was, we always took an empty hamper, which you couldn't understand until we came back from a trip. And what Hal Stewart used to do, he used to take these, remember the polka dot balls, the red and white polka dot, green and white polka dot, blue and white polka dot. He brought all these deflated balls in his hamper. So it must have been 100 of them. And he was the first person in Scotland to bring in the spotted ball. So we played Celtic as green and white, Rangers as blue and white, Aberdeen, red and white. And it quite good. But then that stopped. We stopped doing that. And the next thing we knew, came back from one trip. It was only 2 years we did that. So probably the second year we came back from that. And I moved down at the park. We came back the Sunday. We were in the Monday morning and the Monday afternoon. And the Monday afternoon, these 4 guys come walking into the door. All blonde-headed guys, speaking funny language and that. Can we help you? Yeah, I'm going to see Mr. Stewart. Can I ask your name? Yes, Eric Sorensen, Preben Armtov, Pierre Bartram, and whoever else it was. And this was 4, and 3 that were internationals. The 4 Danish players coming over to sign for Morton. The thing that Hal Stewart found out was that all these players were amateurs. Right? So they never under contract. They didn't get paid money. So in those days, I offered them 50 quid each a week, which is big money, for football in those days. And a place to stay for free, and food for free. We had this big house in the west end of Scotland, and he had a woman looking after them, doing their washing and that, so they loved it. They absolutely loved it. So that changed my life completely, because when we were doing the boots and cleaning up things and getting the baths cleaned up and the players going for training, in the afternoon, we used to go out and brush the terraces. So my brush got thrown away at that point, because these Danish boys were coming in and doing crossing, shooting, that. So I loved that. Eric Sorensen was a great goalkeeper, but I wanted to see the ball hit the back of the net. He hated it. So they were really good content. Volleys with my left foot, right foot, half volley, overhead kicks, diving headers, just everything, even scissor kicks. So I worked on that. I was working on that. It's the best apprenticeship. Probably the way it happened was just surreal, but it's the best apprenticeship anybody could have in football. In the afternoon. Just doing
you won some honours with Morton as well. Despite getting relegated the season before, you won Division 2 in 66-67, comfortably winning the league, and also won the Renfrewshire Cup that season as well, beating St Mirren in the final. What was it like then for you as a Morton fan growing up, winning, well, more so the Renfrewshire Cup, of course, beating St Mirren in the final, but winning a title, that was something you wanted to do as a boy, and winning that with your boyhood team?
Well, that's your dream when you go into football. You know, as I said to you, I wanted to play in the World Cup, score goals for Scotland and Aberdeen. Or didn't think Aberdeen anything. Anybody. That was my job. And, you know, I was one of the probably a young boy who took it as a job. That's my job. You know, I mean, you see centre forwards now going back for corner kicks. Everybody goes back for a corner kick. Eddie Turbo would slap me in the back of the head and says, "You got that penalty spot. Yeah. I bought you to score goals, not to defend." Yeah. He says, "If it bought you, you'd probably stick it in your net anyway." So, you know, that sort of thing. So that was what it was all about for me anyway.
Yeah. And there was a thing that your relationship with the Morton fans wasn't always the best. Is that just because it was...
No. Morton,
was
Hibs was the best. I can tell you about that later.
Yeah, so...
Morton was okay.
Yeah, and it was fine being a local lad, because you sometimes see it with Aberdeen, where the local guys tend to get a bit more stick, a bit more... Or did you ever feel there was a bit more pressure on you at Morton being a local lad?
No, because I scored goals. Yeah. They were happy with that. Yeah. There's two of us. There's actually two boys from Greenock. Although Jim McMaster's really a Greenockian as well. But there's two boys. There's a guy called Eddie Borson who played for Kilmarnock. Eddie was St Columba's. He was a Catholic school. I was a Mount Forest school. We used to have great battles against each other. But after we walk away, we go down the street and have a coffee or a cup of tea or just go for a walk. And we were great pals. And Eddie was the same. You know, he was the top goal scorer ever. He is the top goal scorer ever for Kilmarnock. And I'm the top goal scorer ever for Aberdeen. I don't know about Morton now, my girl must be in there. And I didn't stay in Morton that long. So, but, you know, it was a great thing for kids from that part of the world to make such a great indentation on the football scene. Yeah,
you did have a time away in between your two spells for Morton. You moved down to Huddersfield Town, a spell in Yorkshire. What was it about that time that tempted you away from being at home?
Well, I wasn't tempted away, to be honest with you. I was told to go away because the fee at that time was 45,000 to 50,000. And for a football club at that time, that's 4 years of, you know, being security wise. So it was really asked, you know, we need you to go away. Okay. So I went away, and the other thing that was happened was at that time, Dennis Law had just left Huddersfield. So without any pressure on your shoulders, you're the next Dennis Law's coming in, you know, and that is so, God, you know, couldn't handle that. But I hated it. I hated the place. I hated the way they treated us. I mean, I was in digs in a big house, maybe 8 rooms or something like that. And I was in a room with another 3 guys who were nothing to do with football. Didn't have anybody to do with football in a place apart from me. And they're all 3 of them were Irish navvies. So Friday night, you know, the team didn't take you away, didn't fly into London or take a bus into London or a train into London. You go up in the morning, 6 o'clock, got yourself organised, doing it at Park anyway. You know, and it was the same with training as well. You know, you might have a good night's rest to go to your training, it didn't happen. But these guys were coming in at all sorts of hours, you know, 2, 3 in the morning and burping and doing other things as well, you know. So I asked them, I said to them about 5, 6 times, you know, listen, unless you get me away from here, you know, I want to go, because I hate it. And that was it, you know, so they didn't do it. They never even bothered the backside looking into it. And eventually I just said one day, that's it, I want to go. Yeah, I'm not happy. I said, what finally sealed it was my grandfather was dying of cancer. And I think he only had about 4 days to go at this point. And I said to the manager, this is a Tuesday. And Tom Johnson, his name was, I said to him, I said, I'd like permission to go to Scotland, drive out to Scotland to see my granddad before he dies. I said, no. I said, what do you mean, no? He says, he's not your immediate family. I said, no, bloody grandfather, how near to immediate can you get? He says, no, you're not going. So I just went. So before I found 3 weeks' wages, and I came back, and that was it. I'd lost all interest in I liked the guys there, some smashing players, but nah, you know, I didn't want it. I wasn't wanting to be there because they never treated the way they should treat it.
Yeah. So I was going to ask if it was a move you regretted, but I suppose it was never a move you wanted in the first place, and that was why things never worked out on the pitch as well.
The good thing was, I mean, it's not a season, 2 seasons. I think it was but you know, I eventually phoned Al Stewart and said to him, I hate it. I says, I told him stories of things that were happening. And, you know, your lunch, when they took you in, they gave you 2 sessions. It was okay, it didn't bother me that. Mm-hmm. But your lunch was a cafe across the street from the stadium, and you go over and you're only allowed chip boys. Chip boy. You know, things like that. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, that's just not good enough. So eventually House here said, I don't know what I can do, son. I'll put you about, put your name about, blah, 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 blah. Phoned me, I think it was 10 days later. He says, right, you're coming back home. I said, what do you mean? Back to Scotland? He says, no, back to that capital. Oh, you're right. That was it. Yeah. I went back, I think I scored 30 goals that season. Mm-hmm. When I came back in Aberdeen. But Hal and Eddie Turnbull were great pals. And Hal knew, he says, or Eddie told me, he says, Hal knew you were too good to be there, Drew. That's a terrible thing to say. Yeah. He said, he knew that your future depended on going to Aberdeen and not staying in Morton. He said, you would look for him.
Yeah, so kind of on that then, we'll look at your first spell at Aberdeen. How aware were you of any interest from Eddie Turnbull in Aberdeen at the time, or were you just focused on football?
No. No, the first thing I knew was I was at the park. I was out doing a bit of shooting practice in the afternoon, and Hal Stewart called me and I said, how's it, boss? He says, we had somebody showed interest in you. I said, if it's Huddersfield, I don't want to go. He said, no, I said, I can assure you, Joe, this man's a good man. He said, it's Aberdeen. Right. Now I'm still a young kid at the time. You know, I didn't even know where Aberdeen was. I don't know, who's Aberdeen again? Where is this? Why am I? He says, Aberdeen, they've done a bid, 45 to 50,000. Mm-hmm. I said, right, okay. I said, well, I'm not going in Boston until I go and see my dad. So I went up to the house at night. My dad came through. I said, listen, Dad, says, House Stewart said there's another club interested in me. He says, well, who is that? I said, well, it's Aberdeen. And the first thing he says was, Eddie Turnbull. I went, he says, right, go there. Mm-hmm. And apparently he had known Eddie during the war, you know, at the time. Yeah. And he says he knew of him. He's a good man. He says, strong man, honest man, and he'll treat you right. And that was it. Mm-hmm. I went up to sign for him at Queen Street Station. Drove up on the Friday. Him and Bobby Calder were sitting at Queen Street Station. In the hotel. Yeah. And I went in, parked my car, went in. I sat down. I was pretty excited, you know. And Eddie comes in. Hello, Joe. I said, hi. Mr. Turnbull, how are you? He said, I'm fine. He said, it'll be better if I can get you. I said, get me? He says, we want to sign you. And leaned over the table and I shook hands. He says, okay. I didn't ask him. He said, what be your wages now? My dad said, you're a good man. He says, you do it right. You did. You know, it didn't last 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Yeah. From the moment he came in to...
We spoke to Lee Mayer on the podcast previously, and it sounds just about how his signing for Aberdeen went. It was over before it even started. There was no real negotiation. But given how your time at Huddersfield went, was there any kind of nervousness on your part moving up to Aberdeen? You know, was there any kind of worry, or was just the fact your dad's word on Eddie Turnbull that put your mind at ease?
Yeah. I'm no doubt, you know, I wouldn't have signed there and then anyway. As I said, well, I need to go back and see my dad. If my dad hadn't told me about it, I need to go back and talk to my parents about it. He says, no problem. But, you know, it wasn't, it happened, and that was it. It was meant to be. Yeah. I had no doubt about it. It's still, you're apprehensive because you're coming to another. I mean, we went to Aberdeen. In fact, I was at Aberdeen a fortnight before that, signing, and scored against them. Against Jim. I saw a picture of Jim Hermanson, me going past Jim Hermanson, score. I think it was 2 each or something when we drew, and that's when the bid came in. And I was still playing number 7, so I was still in number 7 in my back at the time. But Eddie moved me in the middle very quickly.
Yeah. And how did you find settling in Aberdeen compared to being at Greenock?
They put us in the hotel on Crown Street. Esselman Hotel, Mr. and Mrs. Esselman. It was a wee hotel, a wee family hotel. It wasn't a big place. And there was 3 or 4 of us. Gary Mackay signed the same day as I did. So the 2 of us were on what a time we had, I'll tell you. Well, I'll tell you. No, we had a great time. Fantastic. Became great mates. Cup final heroes, the 2 of us, So it was all hunky-dory. Loved it. It was only a 3-minute walk up to Union Street to get bussed into the park every day and back again. A lot of times you didn't have enough what to do. People used to go snookering and going to bookies and going to pubs and that. We just went to the park and
kicked the ball out. Yeah. What was it about Eddie Turnbull that got the best out of that squad at the time?
He's honest. He's an honest man. He's a hard man. But he was honest, if you did something wrong, you get punished for it. But he would never, ever take money out of your pocket. He wouldn't say your 2 months' wages or 2 weeks' wages or whatever it is. Never did that. You'd be back training, so it was a punishment, but it was bettering yourself because you're working at it. It wouldn't be easy training. We'd running, sit-ups, stuff like that. It was hard working. But that was Eddie, He had his workout for every. Depending who it
was.
Depends what it was. Not who it was, what it was.
And how did the squad themselves get on? There was a good team spirit in that time.
Yeah, fantastic. Bobby Clark, Henning Wall, Jimmy Emerson, Tommy McMillan, Martin Buchan, George Murray, Davy Robb, God bless him, Jim Forrest, Alec Morby, Arthur Graham. It's just, the team was full of characters, and they were good characters. The only funny guy out of the lot of them was Martin. Martin was when he's, thought he was more intelligent than everybody else, and he would take the Times crossword and,
I suppose in a team like that, when you've got lots of characters, you maybe find a disruptive dressing room because the characters trying to fight for position, but obviously you didn't have that Aberdeen everyone clip.
No, they were great. There was a few fights, a couple of incidents in the pool room or a table tennis room. There weren't anything to worry about.
No.
I had more worry when Wally Young came. I had to take him outside for a fight behind the digs. They were in the digs next to us. And we went through there to watch the football one Wednesday. They asked us through. We sat there and 2 old women. And they were fine old women. They were blend. Wally Young kept swearing off. Get F. I said, what's your manners? He said, what? I said, I'll watch them for you. Yeah, that's what you think. We'll get back and talk about it. And we did. And it sorted it out.
On the pitch then, how would you assess your first season at Aberdeen, and how quickly did the fans really take to you as a player?
Well, I don't know how many goals I scored in my first when we went there. It wasn't the start of the season, so I think I scored maybe 10, 12 goals. So I was in they liked me because I could score.
Yeah.
They knew that. But they always knew I'd give them a lot. And I always over and celebrated, different celebrations. And then eventually, the following season, whenever we took off, 1970, we're up there in the league, and we're in the cup, and the beach end started
all your songs.
Whiskey and Newcastle and stuff like that, and na Harper, well, that stuff. So, and I got more. I often said this. I still say it, that everything I did in front of goal I did for the fans, because I've never seen fans enjoying themselves so much. Because I used to run behind the goal all the time, And if I'd been any closer, if the wall had been any closer, they would have grabbed me in or
Yeah.
But they used to get booked for that, so I used to be careful with it. But no, it's just, they made me, I think I was a cult hero very, very quickly.
Yeah. I think you get that though. You look how quickly this season, obviously, Bojan Miovski's turned into a cult hero.
Yeah.
Duke as well. Just anyone that can find the back of the net is immediately loved by the fans. And well, another way to endear yourself to the fans is, of course, scoring in a cup final, which, of course, you already touched on at the beginning, was that Scottish Cup final over Celtic, where I think Celtic were seen as big favourites going into
European champions.
Yeah, and we won 3-1, you scoring the opener from the penalty spot, as you've discussed. But that cup run, you scored a double in the opening game against Clyde of that run. And then what was that semi-final like? So it was just a tense 1-0 win over Kilmarnock. Was there nerves in that game?
Well, let's go back to the Clyde game.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Clyde played us up at Park. And they did it.
The scoreline.
And we scored. And we got the biggest ball confetti we ever got. It was terrible. I don't know what happened that night. But it just showed you went on to win a cup, So we learned from it. The semi-final was exciting in a different way. It was a semi-final. You knew you had to get through. Nobody ever remembers the semi-finals, Kilmarnock had a good team in those days, and we played them. We played well against them, and we deserved to win. But the scrappy goal, oh gosh! I tried to push Derek Mackay out of the way, put it in the back post, but he just got there before me. But 1-0, we slugged the ball over the goal line, and that was it. And all of a sudden, cup finals coming up.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, and the final didn't seem as obviously it was important, but it didn't seem as much pressure in the final, even against Celtic, than it did against Kilmarnock in the semi-final.
Yeah,
because you had to get, if you didn't get through, the shit were there.
Yeah,
so then we could relax and start building up for the final and talk about it, and tactics-wise what we do. And Eddie Turnbull's tactics that day were just magnificent, absolutely magnificent. He changed the whole thing around. The centre forward can be very fussy, right? And a bit to the lip down now and again. Well, when Eddie picked the team, well, tell you what happened before that. I think I'd gone 5 games. This is absolutely unbelievably bad tragedy, this. I scored 5 games. Before that, I hadn't scored 5 games. And Terry Scott says to me, he said, if you don't score in your next couple of games, he said, you're never going to the cup final. I said, I don't know. I mean, you're dropped. I said, what, because I hadn't scored 5 games? What about like 20 games before that? Doesn't matter. So I guess it was a wind up. I knew that eventually, but they wound me up about it. And I didn't play against Celtic. We played Celtic a week before that at Parkhead. Arthur Gaines scored and beat them. Without me, I was dropped. I was put to Tynecastle in the reserve team on the Wednesday. I was the Monday night. And Terry said to me, he said, remember what I said to you, if you don't score, you don't go. And
how did that make you feel then when you were dropped that week before? Did that give you that fire in the belly? Or?
Well, I think the fire was always in the belly. I just thought, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Just unbelievable. And I probably deep down said, I hope you beat so we'll be fine again. Anyway, I went to Tynecastle with the reserves. Came in at half time, 3-0 down. Great. And Terry kept saying, right, you got to score goals, you don't play. Don't score, you don't play, no. And I scored a hat trick and we drew 3 each. He said, okay, now you've got a wee chance. But it was all a kid on.
Yeah.
They wanted to protect me at Parkhead because they knew that they'd try and kick me because I was the one that scored goals. I was probably the most dangerous player for them.
Yeah.
They said, we're not going to risk that. But it always kept me going right to the bloody final. Even the final, Eddie never named the team until we got there. He had a list of players, no numbers, just players. And then you had, when Eddie got there, he'd tell you the teams, he tells the team, Bobby, Henning Ball, Jim Harrison, blah, blah. Goes right through the team. Gets to number 9, Jim Forrest. I always wore number 9. I didn't expect it, don't get me wrong. It was my jersey. I always went, oh no. Number 10, Davy Robb. I was number 7. No, number 10. No, it was 9, Jim Forrest, 10, Harper, and then 11, Arthur Graham. So after it, I spoke to Eddie and I said, boss, what was all this thing with the, changing the number? It was the only number changed in the team. He says, it was a tactical move to us. I said, it's tactical. He says, well, you think, yeah. He says, Jim Forrest is a fastest player at Park. Over 100 meters. Lightning.
Yeah.
Billy McNeil's against that. So Billy McNeil's not going to want to stand too close to him. He'll be standing back. John Clark be behind him, covering Billy McNeil, right? He says, we're just going to give you a big space in front of them, and a big arc around about for you to pick the ball up. And me being the intelligent fielder, I said, what about the central midfield player? He's going to come back and mark me. He says, no, Bobby Murdoch doesn't do that. Bobby Murdoch goes forward all the time. He's the only man going forward. He says, trust me, we get plenty of room and work. They worked magnificently because we scored the penalty. We scored the second goal because of that. He also said to me, he says, Joe, you're the best player in the team with 2 feet, 2 good feet. He says, but you can use it both ways. The second goal, Derek did a magnificent flick behind him. And he passed and said to me, and I saw Jim 30 yards away running through the middle and just putting it right on his foot. And he had a shot, came across and Derek followed through.
Yeah. And then a great night celebrating as well, I'm sure.
Oh, aye. Yeah. We went to Glen Eagles before the game, in the Friday night, in fact. Got up in the morning and made blazers, and ridiculous, horrible blazers. It's a maroon colour. And we walked down the stairs of Glen Eagles going to breakfast, this wee typical American, with 5'7", 25 stone, bright yellow, bright green trousers, the shoes going for golf, with a hat, multicoloured hat. How are you guys? He said, how y'all doing? Fine, how you doing? Great. He says, are you some kind of basketball team? He's asking me this. I said, I am a basketball team. I'm the one that does all the scoring. The program is the equivalent of the American Super Bowl. He says, all right. He says, I can't make the game. He says, but swear to God, and you guys win, you come back here? Yeah, we're coming back here for celebration, hopefully. So you guys come back, I'll have a little party for you. And we went back there, we had our official meal and a few drinks, and he had a room, and I've never seen so much drink in all my life in this room. And we stayed up till 6:30 in the morning. All of us stayed up till 6:30. Everybody drunk. On the bus to Aberdeen, got a car to tea, and they said, right, we're changing buses. We went into a old top bus. Well, I felt so sick. We all felt so sick until we hit Union Street, and then, wow, amazing.
And I suppose when you hit Union Street, obviously, for myself and Calum, we've only obviously seen it with the 2014 League Cup, but did that give you this real sense of achievement of what you'd done when you hit Union Street and saw the swathe of people? Yeah, we were always confident we were going to beat them, and I think it probably had something to do with the week before beating them. We never lacked confidence. We never felt, against Celtic, let's go and go. But that when you go up Holborn Street, you get to the top there, and then you get to the top, and the bus turns on you. And all you can't see anything, or people. Yeah. And I mean it. No, you couldn't see pavement, right? So people hanging in the windows. And it took us an hour and a half to get from Holborn Street to down to the other end. The Castlegate probably does now with them on the roadworks. So they go on there. The following season, though, is really when, as you said, you kind of really hit it off at Aberdeen, 33 goals in 34 games. As I said, you won the European Bronze Boot that season as well. Do you still have that trophy?
Is it Pittodrie?
Is it Pittodrie?
Yes, the chairman and the directors and big cabinet. Yeah. Very proud of that. I'm very proud of it because the guy who won it, you know who it was?
No.
Gary Miller.
Okay.
who was one of my favourites. But Gavin Norris seemed to be the same sort of build and same sort of striker, same sort of goal scorer. So I sort of played myself in him. So he got it, and Tony Addis of Panathinaikos got the gold, the bronze boot, the silver boot. But both players have played something like 4 games more than me. So, and I was only beaten from Tony Addis by 1 goal. And I was beaten by Miller for 2 goals. I think it was 3 goals.
Yeah. So you'd had a few more games you'd have got there. Yeah. Well, what do you put down to your success that season? Was it just your teammates or the hard work that you put in as well?
I've done hard work. Eddie always loved me for this, although she said, no, I hated cross country run. I said to Eddie, I used to say, boss, if I want to be a cross country runner, there's bloody Olympics. I says, why you got me doing this? And he used to like, don't worry, just do it, son. Doesn't matter when you get in, just do it. So I used to take a long time getting in. I hated it. I hadn't the mind for it. My mind was working too fast. In football terms as well, that I just didn't have the mind to do that.
Yeah.
And he didn't work. Martin Buchan hated it. Willie Young hated it. Jim Layton hated it. I can beat Martin Buchan, Willie Young, and Jim Layton. That did me. I was enough.
As long as you were lost.
So but I think it was just I don't know. I think I really did think, more practice. I used to tell young kids when I was doing a bit of coaching, I tell them now, if you want to be a striker, I want to be a striker. I said, well, I wouldn't tell you something. You go home, every night you go home, unless mum and dad tells you to do something else, you go home, get a bit of wall, bit of fence, and just hit the ball against it with both feet all the time. One, okay, and said, do a tennis ball. You tell a kid to get a tennis ball. He's like, huh? He says, why would I do that? I says, because football, any sport is ball to foot or hand contact or head contact, whatever you want it is. It's all ball to eye to ball contact, I says, and if you can score and hit the ball the way you want to hit the ball with a tennis ball, when the big ball comes, it's going to be so much easier. And that's what we've done.
Yeah. There's always, I remember you were my manager there was the Pittodrie Floods appeal game at Harlow Park a few years back. Do you remember the piece of advice you gave us at halftime? I think we were losing about 6-0 at halftime. No. You said, doesn't matter what the score is, but just remember that the ball will always move faster than the man.
Yeah. That's true.
So that was and it's funny because, when me and Calum are doing the podcast, or if I'm even sitting at Pittodrie and, I feel like we're getting chased off the park, I'm like, hey, Joey Harper just said, just pass the ball and we'll just tire them out. And it still resonates with me to this day.
The other thing I told you that day, if you score a goal,
no, Wilson would never. Oh, did we? Yeah, we did score a goal that second half.
I think he scored 2.
Oh, I never know.
No, I said, if you score a goal, everybody run over to the dugout.
Oh, you did, yeah. You did that.
And then,
yeah, so it was already easy. Praising you like you were in the top 19. You said, no, I had the unthankful task of marking Eugene Daddy that second half. But what's any highlights from that season in particular? Obviously, your goal scoring record stands out. Is there any personal highlights for yourself that season?
No, really. I mean, every game is a highlight for me. I told Steve Asherwell mentioned it when he was up this year doing a sort of thing in the Tivoli. He wrote a bit about me. He says, Joe Harper's the best thing that ever happened to me because he told me so many things that simple things that I never thought about. Crossovers, between strikers, speaking to the guys who are going to be doing the work and getting the ball to you. You talk to them. I don't think present day, again, we'll come to that, I don't think they talk to each other.
Yeah.
You can never see the ball put in the box and the striker running. And it always seems to happen after their event. But no, I don't know. I just love Pitmedden. I love it. My day was a Saturday.
Yeah.
When I started to get up in the morning, ready to go to the game, I was never late. I was never late for training. I was never late for the bus. I was always excited until we got there. And then I calmed down. And then we started thinking seriously about it. So the goals just seemed to be coming so easy.
Yeah.
Anything I hit in those days, 71, 8 especially, anything I hit was just flying in it.
Mm-hmm.
Did we play Juventus that year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Aye. Well, even then against Juventus, got the header.
Yeah.
You've got that in film somewhere. That sort of thing, Eintracht Frankfurt, top corner, last minute. No Eintracht Frankfurt. Celta Vigo. We played them, beat them 2-0 there. Me and Jim Forrest scored, came back, and they played at Zafford Park. In the last minute of the game, I hit a 35-yarder at the top corner.
Beach end goes crazy. Yeah.
So all these things, you never take this thing. You never think I never thought any game being more important
than the next. Yeah.
And I'm a great believer in Aberdeen, a sort of team now. You can go out and fight for a draw against Rangers or Celtic, and the following week you beat 3-0 for Clydebank, 7-0, whatever.
Yeah.
Wrong attitude, wrong mindset.
Yeah.
You should you should be looking at all your opposition in the same way.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree on that one. Obviously, your goals attract interest, and a move to Everton comes about. But were you ever aware of any interest at the time of playing, or?
No, if you read the papers, which I wasn't a great. I used to read our reports and other reports, team, but I never read what Hugh McIlvanney said, or whoever it was, at the time, because I knew a lot was made up. But they used to always, every weekend, there was something, somebody's after Harper, and somebody's after Harper, blah, blah, blah. No, never heard anything. It was just, Jimmy Bonthron called me in, not Jimmy. Was it Jimmy? It was Jimmy. Called me in. Eddie had just left. Turbo had just left to go to Hibs. And Eddie called me and he says, Everton are after you. And I went, wow. I said, wow. He says, what do you think? I says, what do you think? He says, well, you want to go? I said, I don't know. He says, I'd be talk to people about it first before I make a decision. And at that point, Dick Doyle came in. As usual, Dick being the Tivoli man, dancer, hi, hello, Joe, how are you doing? When are you going to Everton? Right. And I said to him, I said, no, I don't really want to go to Everton. I says, to be honest with you, we had a thing in those days that, if you get married or you bought a house, the club would give you an interest-free £2,000 loan. Remember in those days, we bought a bungalow in Stonehaven for 6,000. Right? And within 6 months, it was worth 13,000. Now, the story is, we got this £2,000 loan and an interest-free loan. And you had to give it back, right? Yeah. No problem. So, when I came to talking about the signing, I was doing the car with him. I said, I'm not really interested. I'm playing good football. I'm really enjoying myself. I like my teammates. Everything's great. Why not leave it till next year and we'll talk about it then? No. You can only the same stuff as the first one, but 40,000 would get Hal Stewart. He says to me, listen, to 180,000. That's going to keep Aberdeen going for 3-4 years. So when they say things like that to you, it's and then eventually you realise that they want you to go. They don't want you. They want you to go. So I begin to think, well, we'll see. And I did. Eventually I did. I went down with haggled with Harry Catrick in the hotel, at the airport at Glasgow, big hotel. That's where we met. And the offer they gave me was unbelievable. I mean, at least 3 times what I was getting at Aberdeen. Big signing on fee in the context of that period. Yeah. Just everything about it was great, I'm saying to myself, why should I be thinking about turning it down? I was enjoying myself so much.
It's interesting that, again, it's a case of where you're not really wanting to leave, but the money on the table for the club at the time was too good to turn down. But was there ever a point during the signing for Everton, did you ever feel you were going down there with a point to prove, given how things didn't work out at Huddersfield? Was that ever in your mind?
Not at all. No, not at all. I told you, it wasn't me. It wasn't my playing. It was a problem at Huddersfield. It was my...
No, but I guess, like, with things not working out, I know obviously off the pitch it didn't inspire things on the pitch, but was there ever in the back of your mind wanting to show the English, like, football fans what you were capable of? Because you'd been scoring so freely up in Scotland.
Well, we were in the second division at the time, so it was pretty hard in that respect to get. It was only the 2 divisions. It was pretty hard to get into the first division, although we played teams like... No, that's not total rubbish. We were in the first division at that time, because my first game was against Tottenham. And it's best... No, I can't remember that, but no. I'm thinking second, still with Everton. Yeah, I think we're in the second division. I think the idea was for me to get promotion up to, as I say, Dennis Law had just left. So it was a big pair of boots to fill.
Yeah.
So I just sort of get to play football. As long as I was playing football, I was happy. I did all right. I scored about 12, 13, 14 goals or something like that. I can't remember. But it was a, you know, if you're not happy, if you're a footballer and you want to concentrate on your football, you need everything about you to be hunky-dory.
Yeah.
You didn't need to worry about 3 guys coming in at 2 o'clock in the
No.
morning and being sick and stuff like that, you know. And when the club doesn't do anything about it, and you think to yourself, what's your worth? You're not worth anything.
No.
Doesn't it? Doing anything about it, you know. They should have done something about it within the first week.
Yeah.
And then things would have been better.
And were things hunky-dory at Everton then for you when you went down there?
Brilliant, yeah. Couldn't do enough for you. They put us into a flat in Southport until we got a house. Until we found a house. And I used to go into training every week from Southport, and Fiona was very pregnant at the time, you know, about 6 months pregnant or something like that. So she was in Southport herself, we had a wee golden retriever puppy that we bought. So I used to come back in the afternoon, late afternoon, because we always train in the afternoon, always some bodies or something like that. Came back. And I came back one day and she wasn't there, and I wasn't too bothered with that. But an hour later, she still wasn't there, the dog wasn't there. I think to myself, you know, maybe something's wrong with the baby, you know, maybe Fiona's going out and the dog's got injured or something. I didn't know what was going on. You didn't have phones in those days to phone. So, but 2.5 hours later, I heard the door open. Oh, wait, I was going to say, where the hell have you been? There's this woman behind her, and her name is Mrs. Moore. And it was John Moore, our chairman's wife. And I says, where have you been? Where have you been? She says, well, Mrs. Moore kindly came over and started taking me around places, nice places to look at houses. I said, did she? He said, oh. In a white Rolls Royce. So that was great. So it was fine. So everything was great. Then we got a house, picked a house in Heslow, and a week later I saw the chairman. I came in to the chairman. How are you doing, Joe? I said, I'm fine, Mr. Chairman. How are you? We'd won 2 games or 3 games of Troy. Things were good. I said, I'm good, aye. How are you? He said, I'm good. They tell me you bought a house. I says, aye. He says, where was it? He said, stay for somewhere down beside Southport. He says, oh, I said, no, I didn't go there. I says, I'm in Heslow. In Heslow? I says, aye, well, heading towards, you know, Wales, that sort of way. You know, you can't stay there. I went, I know. He says, because you got to go to the tunnel all the time. He says, what happens if the tunnel breaks down, Joe? What are you going to do if it's a gamer? I said, you never heard the song, Very Cross of It. He just laughed at me and go away. So I moved into Heslow. That was it. And yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, even on the pitch as well. Enjoying
down
on the
pitch. It was hard. I mean, it was hard because it was a rebuild. You know, Alan Ball was with Evans before I came in at the pit transfer. There were 4 or 5 other very good players. The boy, when Wilson, Wilson at the fullback who's played for England at international level. So, you know, it was good. Howard Kendall, played with Howard, of course. Yeah. My first game was a wee bit of a disaster, but it was probably the best game I played for ever. Against Tottenham at home. We beat them 3-1. I hit the post twice, I hit the bar twice, and I missed the penalty by hitting the post because I changed my mind, thinking that he would be looking at my penalty kicks off quite a hurry. But I made 2 goals for Howard and a goal for Aberdeen, and I got a standing ovation off the park. So everything was great, and then I met Freddie Starr, so that was great.
Yeah, a great time. And obviously you enjoyed your experience down in Liverpool, but Eddie Turnbull offered you a chance to come back to Hibs. What was it about returning to Scotland? Was it the chance to work with Eddie again?
Well, not really. Billy Bingham was the manager, changed over the manager. I had with a hard time. Billy was called Billy the Liar. You know, he told lies about every player in the bloody place. So I wasn't too happy there at the time. He came out of training ground one day. I was still fair, the first team I was still playing, I still scored a goal. He says, Eddie Turnbull wants you to go back. I said, oh. He said, well, what do you think? I didn't know if he's just trying me on to see how much my,
enthusiasm.
Yeah. I said, oh, if he wants to, you don't want me, I said, I'll go back. She said, okay, wait a minute. He says, you just carry on training. But what he did was, Eddie had come in at 96 or something like that. He went up and phoned Jimmy Bonford at Aberdeen and offered Jimmy Aberdeen. And I said, oh, okay. So I says, let me think about it. So he kept doing this. So eventually got 120,000 that Hibs had offered, and Aberdeen had said, no, they're not going any further. He had already he got 180,000 for me.
Yeah. And
they were getting me back a hell of a lot cheaper, Anyway, I said, I said, I want to go to Scotland. By that time, I'd made my mind up.
Yeah.
To go to Scotland. And we did. I went into Carlisle, and I signed from a hotel in Carlisle, drove to Carlisle myself, and that was it. I wouldn't have gone to Hibs. I must say, I wouldn't have gone to Hibs if it hadn't been for Eddie being there. Him being there was the reason I went.
Yeah.
And
I guess at Hibs, it's fair to say things weren't really great for you personally, with the Hibs fans never really warming to you. But your time at Hibs does stick out because, of course, you do have a record. You scored a Scottish Cup final hat-trick, albeit being on the losing side in the final. But that must again be probably a highlight for you in your time at Hibs there, scoring that cup final hat-trick.
Two highlights that should make you a hero. I scored the winning goal 1-0 against Hearts at the Easter Road. It was a 35-yarder in the top corner again, left foot. And that, we won 1-0, and that should make you a hero.
Yeah.
And then the second one was scoring the hat-trick in the cup final. But it wasn't all the Hibs fans that hated it. It was just a certain bunches. You come out the tunnel onto the park, just to your left of the tunnel here, is diehards.
Okay.
And I quite understand exactly where they were coming from and why they hated me so much.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't my fault. But when Hibs signed me, I went back to Liverpool that night, and I'm going through the team, what a good team they had. A couple of weaknesses, but the rest of them, Blackley, Brownlee, Pat Stanton, Alec Edwards, Arthur Duncan, Jimmy O'Rourke, Alan Gordon, that team. And we did well when we went there. I mean, I scored against Liverpool in the cup, and then we went into Liverpool. The next game, we scored in 3 minutes, 2-0 up. Eventually, we beat by three headers from Toshak.
Yeah.
In the last 12 minutes, could knock it 3-2, then they went on and won the cup. So I knew exactly where I was. The Hibs fans were blaming me because Jimmy O'Rourke and Alan Gordon got sold after that game.
Oh, okay.
Right. And the fans are saying, well, Hart's doing the selling them to get his money back for Harper, But it wasn't my fault. You know, I just said to do a job, and I did the job.
Yeah.
Probably also for 3 years, was it?
Yeah, exactly. Just unfortunately that some fans don't appreciate the players that can put the ball back in it. But you did eventually make it back to the northeast. Alan McLeod offered you a chance to come back to Aberdeen. Was that an easy decision coming back north to Pittodrie?
Yeah, it was actually Eddie offered me the job. Offered me the chance to go.
Okay.
After we were on holiday, pre-season. I was over in Ireland with the family in holiday. We had a house over there. And I'm having a barbecue on a Sunday. Beautiful day. Got 4 families there, our kids, having a barbecue. About 3 in the afternoon, I got a right good drink, and then the phone goes. And it's my dad. He says, Eddie Turnbull phoned me. He says, he wants you to go and see him. I says, when? He says, tomorrow. I said, you're kidding. He says, no. I said, oh, yeah, okay. He said, give him a phone. I said, I'll phone him. So I phoned him about 9 o'clock at night, missing him. I was, he said, how are you doing? I said, fine. How's the wife? How's the car? Fine, boss, I'm fine. I said, yeah, I had a wee drink, I'm not back for 4 weeks. Oh, no, don't worry about that, son. Don't worry. I said, I need you to come through tomorrow. I said, okay, what is it? He says, there's a team, just say it was Utrecht or something, somebody from Denmark, Holland. He says, are playing an English team, Stoke, I think it was, in a pre-season friendlies. England always started before us in those days. He says, but they've pulled out, Stoke's pulled out. He says, so they've offered us again. I said, oh, great. I said, when is it? He says, tomorrow. What? I said, why? He says, just get yourself here. He said, you'll be all right, don't worry. We'll get you got a wee bonus now. So I went over. This is true. I went over. I scored 5. No, we won 5-0, and I scored the 5 goals. And I got booed off the park. And I've always said, I don't remember a lot of Utrecht supporters being there. It wasn't a Utrecht, I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody like that, And then he says, Alan McLeod wants to an interest. I says, okay, that's it. So this a sign in a hotel in Arbroath, we're doing in Lichty's Park, Arbroath Park, over a cup of tea, plate of sandwiches, and a couple of buns.
Yeah.
That was it. And again, I didn't ask him what the deal was. I just said, yeah. Shook hands. He says, hello, Dave, sir. I said, I know.
Yeah. And that was you back in Pittodrie. And it really is a kind of match made in heaven. A couple of months after your return, we beat Celtic again, this time in the League Cup 2-1 after extra time. And for you personally as well, top goal scorer every season after your return as well, just back to feeling normal again.
Back to normal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to think, well, it's still a day that, you can't think back and say, well, if I hadn't gone, if I hadn't taken that step and gone to Everton and stuff like that, but there's a lot of things coming into it as well. Eddie had gone, Jimmy had gone, the new title manager, Ali, all jolly, all fine, build you up to make you think you're the best man in the park, but everybody's built up that way.
Yeah.
But tactically, not really that great, but we were tactically wise. We had a great experience in the team with Henning and Bobby Clark and George Murray was a great guy, he knew tactics inside out. The great thing about the team we had were an all-intelligent team. And I'm smiling, but I mean this sincerely, especially Davy Robb. Davy was a clever boy, and he knew football inside out. So we had a good team who thought about the thing. We didn't just go away after training, and we used to have days out where we'd go golfing. And we'd change partners all the way in the course, so that you were all mixed up and talk about football.
Yeah. You were also part of the league winning side in 79-80. Now, I know obviously that season for you personally with the knee injury that you picked up against Celtic, it obviously didn't go to plan for you. You only played 8 times in the league, but still enough to qualify for a league winning medal.
Yeah, I think it was 11 goals.
How do you feel on that? How do you look back on that season for you? Was it one of disappointment given there wasn't much involvement, or still with pride given obviously how it ends?
I didn't. I wasn't really sure I'd be getting a medal, but I got a medal because they said the rules are if you play so many games. he's, you know, I don't really think he brought any goals, but I did score 11 goals for him. Alec Ferguson and I didn't go on very well, to be honest with you, you know, and I didn't even get invited to the final, you know, but I was in Stuckey at the time. I could still have gone, you know. You never invited me, so I didn't get any celebrations, didn't get any of that, and that was a bit disappointing, you know. But, the story, you're reading the story, I know the story, I got my medal, I had to go and ask for it, I wasn't given it.
Okay.
And Ian Taggart went to see, I says, you know, I believe I've got a medal again, a winner's medal. Oh, I says, wait, you know, get a boss. He says, I'll go see him. He went and saw First I said, Liam. So Taggart came back, opened his drawer and the medal was there, and then there it is. Yeah. And that was it, and I walked in.
Yeah, a bit of a sour taste maybe, but as well, in your time at Aberdeen, you've made 16 European appearances. I've got it down as 8 goals. What's your abiding memory of playing European football, especially at Pittodrie? Or those nights like back in those days?
Fantastic. I mean, you know, the Juventus night, it was frosty on the ground, you know, it was hard to play. It was one of my very few great headers to score the goal. Again, it was you know, as players, just known players. I saw the ball went wide to Arthur, and Arthur could cross the ball with either foot, so it didn't matter. When I saw him crossing the byline, and he was really throwing it back just outside the 6-yard box, and I made a run, walking across perfect, and I headed it, and it goal. Well, that was one of the best players I've ever played in my life. Against was the boy there called Marino, not Jose. Marino. No, and it was a great night. We drew 1-1, and then went over there and they gave us an absolute lesson in football. I've never touched the ball. Well, I did actually. The ball went for a throw in. I took it off the ball boy and said, "I touched it." So, it was
one of the best seats in the house. They're standing and watching.
So the wrong side, even to go to Germany and play in Germany, to play in Spain against Celta Vigo, and then Eintracht Frankfurt, you know, Honved.
Yeah,
I think Honved was my first one. When I was after the Scottish Cup, we played Honved. First game to do what?
This is a quiz question. If Johnny Bain's tuning in, he's going to be shouting at it. I can't remember what it is.
Penalty kicks.
That's it. Yeah, it comes up every year.
Every time. Yeah. And penalty kicks. And we're raw, totally raw. We beat them 4 over here. No, 4 it's the same score over here. And one of their goals, obviously, the boy must be 15 yards offside.
To get longer if you've had a few drinks, 20 yards.
Yeah, but it's usually a matter of a yard, 2 yards. Bar would be hard.
You've got 199 goals in your Aberdeen career. Or are you counting the Driver Cup as well?
The Driver Cup has been counted.
They are counting,
yeah. I had to phone it, and Charlie Allen, thanks for this. Charlie says to me, great pals with Charlie, he says, "You're a player, I hate you." I said, "I hate you for." He says, "Why do you not just score another goal?" I says, "What for?" He says, "To make it 200 So I don't know. So he came back one day and I went, "Great news." I says, "What's your great news?" He says, "I phoned the SFA, I've spoken to them, and I'll come back, and they said there's 2 tournaments, Texaco Cup and the Driver Cup, and they both count." I went, "Oh." He said, "Do you know why they both count? Do you know what the criteria is to both count?"
No.
We've got to be going for 10 years each before it's a bona fide cups. And I scored 6 goals.
Yeah.
205.
205. Well, nice round amount there. How then, Joy, do you look back on your time as an Aberdeen player as a whole? What is it about Aberdeen that holds such fond memories for you? And how, and there's also a mention to the fans as well for during your time as a player.
Aberdeen means everything to me. Aberdeen was my career. You know, I know I went here and I went there, and I really enjoyed some of them, not Huddersfield. I hated Huddersfield. But no, I really enjoyed Liverpool, Everton. You know, it was fantastic. They were great people, both sides of them, you know, Liverpool and Evertonians. Great people, great place to live. If it wasn't for the fact that Fiona had a bad pregnancy and it was no good, and she was homesick and stuff like that, I'd probably still been there. You know, he would have been there, but it didn't happen. Everything I wanted in my career, I got with Aberdeen. You know, I got the fans were just magnificent. I've often said to the fans, you know, you said to me, what's the thing about you scoring? Why do you do it? The fans took me, you know, I used to go in there, and the beach end especially was magnificent. You know, they were the ones that sang the songs and that. And they knew that I'd never go in the park and not try. You know, they knew that, I mean, I used to have balls for 30, 40 yards. I never shouted them before that. They were for me because they knew I was capable of doing that, you know. They knew I always scored against Rangers and Celtic, which was great. So it was, the fans were listening.
Yeah, and I suppose
the club looked after me well. They were a right family club. We are a family club.
Yeah. I suppose even to this day, then, you know, you still do your match day stuff at Pittodrie, and you know, you've got events as well. You've kindly come on the podcast as well, but you know, fans still come up to this day and will probably recall memories and tell everything about your career. Just it is a special aspect.
They'll always come on and say to me, "Do you remember that score?" Yeah. I said, "Well, you need to tell me when it is. When was it?" He said, "Well, you got it. And you beat 3 players in the middle of the park, and it's a wet night against Hibs, and you fell on your backside and hit a 30-yarder in the top corner. I think you hit his 30 yards, I think." I says, "Oh, I remember in the yards, and then Archie McPherson was up in the commentary board. He says, and now it's Scotland and Aberdeen's striker, Joe Harper, who really hasn't, what a goal!" I said, "I mean, a night Arsenal." Yeah, you know, if somebody mentions the goal and starts to say it to her, I'll tell them exactly how it was.
You there mentioned Scotland. It would be amiss not to discuss the national side with you. 6 goals for the national side, 5 of them coming in. You scored against the Canadian Olympic side. That was your first appearance for the national side, and eventually, I think only quite recently, became your first official cap for the national side.
Yeah.
What was that tour like for you?
Well, me and another 4 boys were really just the Harper boys, you know. We're going to get a game in between, you know, noon again, maybe 2-3 games, but we're really just there for the boy. It was supposed to be a really through international squad with Dennis Law and people like that going. And then all this American stuff, you know, came in where players were getting paid money to go away to America and play the close season. The clubs are letting them do it because it meant they're kept fit. So they all went for that. You know, so instead of being an international team, it was called
Scotland's
Touring
11.
Touring 11, that's right. And the fact that I played against Canada was brilliant because in Toronto, because the family had moved out there from Stirling, and they all came to see me and brought all their Scottish friends with them, and of course I scored all the goals, so it was a brilliant, absolutely magnificent. It was a great trip, Hong Kong, Israel, Canada, New Zealand, just brilliant. Brilliant. But I must pick you up on something.
Okay, it's 7, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, I've actually realised I've done it wrong, always one to correct me anyway. You did score your first probably official Scotland goal, obviously at the time of that game not being sure about counting. Came in a World Cup qualifier over Denmark in 1972. That was a 4-1 win. What was your memories from that night?
Wait till your story. Give it time. I was a sub, right? In a sub for it, and we're watching the game, and Jimmy Vaughan scored, and Jimmy Vaughan, he's scored now, sitting on the bench here, you know. And then who's the other one? I think it was Wally George. Willie Winger. Played for Spurs. No. Wally Morgan. Wally Morgan scored.
My age as well.
And then the Danish team scored, and all of a sudden there's a panic. Now, when we're given at half time, you do what you do anyway, anytime you go to a team. You guys want laces for their boots or something. Just, get them a cup of tea and stuff.
Yeah.
You just help them out, you try to calm everybody down. And we came back out again, and it was only about 5-6 minutes before I got on the park and the Danish boys scored. And Orman says to me, he says, right, Joe, Tommy Docherty says to me, he says, right, Joe, get ready, son, you're going on. And, all right. I said, well, wait a minute, boy. He says, what's wrong? I says, I thought I go to the toilet. He says, what? I said, no, too busy looking after the rest of the players, we're getting their studs and stuff. He says, hurry up. So I ran out the toilet, got to the dressing room, it was locked. Came back out, and there was a big Danish policeman standing just outside. I said, what is it you say for toilet? I said, toilet? Toilet, yeah. And he opens this big steel door. And across there, I can see 25 yards away, I can see toilet. Runs over, does it, pulls my tracksuit top, I'm going back out. I'm inside the stadium. And the door's shut. Right. And I'm going, this is my debut. So you can imagine the panic. And I'm banging the door. Must have only been banging for maybe 10, 15 seconds. It felt a lifetime. Then go, come. I said, thank you. And then went on within 5 minutes, 6 minutes been on. Morgan beats a couple of players, passed it to Mackay, back healer, Harper, right foot to left foot, bang, in the net.
Yeah.
3-1. And then I made the fourth goal as well. So, and that is one game that I always have a blur about. Because it all happens so quick.
Yeah.
And the panic of me having to go to the toilet and stuff like that, jeez.
And what was that like then for you? You spoke about being a kid and wanting to, win leagues and score goals. What was that like then, for some, the culmination is then playing for your national team. What was that like for you then, pulling on that blue jersey?
It was a dream come true. It really was a dream come true. And the great thing I knew about it was that game was live on TV in back in Scotland. So I knew that my mum and my dad, all my family and friends and that were sitting in watching it. So it was special.
Yeah.
Very special.
You also had your other goal, also came against Denmark, again in Copenhagen, a 1-0 win, but you and Denmark have a bit of clash, because there was an incident in Copenhagen which saw you briefly banned from the national setup. Your fault or not?
No. Not at all. No, I swear to God, I swear my kids' lives, wife, no, all I did was score a goal.
Yeah.
I scored the goal, game finished. I remember saying to myself about 3-4 minutes to the end of the game, I don't want anybody else to score.
Yeah.
Because then you're a real hero, you don't know what's going to happen. But when back, you've got to understand the logistics of this. In Denmark, they don't play games at 7 o'clock, 7:30. It's not like 8:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, right? Kickoffs. So, and that's a different time for back to Scotland. So it was I think it was an 8 o'clock kickoff. So we kicked off, so the game finished at 9:30. Time you get to the place, it's maybe 10:15, 10:30. By the time we get back to the hotel, which was another 3/4 of an hour away, it's back at 11 o'clock, And it was Billy Bremner says to Orman, he says, hey boss, he says, can the boys go for a pint? And Orman is delighted with one.
Yeah.
He says, go for a pint. He says, the only stipulation is you've got to be back in for 11 o'clock in the morning. It was a joke, but it was being serious.
Yeah.
Because that's when we're getting ready to go to leave. So we were the only ones that got out of Denmark. Unfortunately, me and Arthur Green got the wrong taxi. Billy, Wally Young, Pat McCluskey, Billy Bremner. So as you do, you ask the driver to take you to a nightclub, somewhere we can get a drink, and he'll take you to where he gets a backhander from. So we went in this nightclub, beautiful place. But when we went in 5 years, we practically almost doubled the place. Honestly, there's nobody in the place. And it was only because it was a working night, you know. The time it was at night. So it was only 5 people, 10, 6 people, same here.
Yeah.
But that was it. And me and Arthur, when we walked in, Arthur said, there's a guy waving at you. And I looked over in the corners, 20 yards away. The 2 blokes sitting with 2 blonde girls. And I recognised one of the blonde girls. You don't understand it. So we waved over and he says, come here. So we went over. The boy who waved to us was the boy who owned the club. His mate was English and was over in holiday seeing him with his girlfriend. And the other girl, the one I recognised, was one of the air hostesses that had taken us over. So I'm all right, okay. Sit down. So we sat down. He got champagne, bottle of champagne. We sat down and we were there for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, sitting there and talking away, great. And all of a sudden there's a bit of a noise happening up at the bar, a bit of a scuffle. We turned round, 8 Danish policemen with the batons and the masks on, surrounding Wally Young, Billy Bremner, McCluskey. Oh God. So I said to Arthur, I said, we better go and see what's happening here. So I went over and the policeman said, what you want? I said, we're with them, so I just want to know what's happening. Wally Young, these big, beautiful tubular lights that can bear for the roof, got a beat can opener, did that, thing smashed. Boy says, you have to pay. He says, I will pay for it. He says, okay, it costs you €800, not euros, kroners. Yeah. He says, I don't want to buy the club. He says, we'll pay for it. And that's how it started. Okay. They eventually got to a bit of a shuffle, but the boy pressed the button underneath because he knew that they were a bit rowdy. He pressed the button and then the police turned up. Yeah. So we had to go outside, and Arthur and I said, well, we'll go say cheer and we'll just go outside, okay? So we just said, yeah, listen, we've got to try and get him away from this lot and get him back to the lad, okay? So when we came in, it was a spiral staircase that took you up, so you came back down the spiral staircase. So McCluskey tried to be funny with the policeman behind him, kept dumping into him. So the policeman just hit him with a baton. He fell, hit Wally Young, he fell, and Bremner reacted to it, so they belted him as well. And we're standing at the top, you know. So I went down and I said to her, I need to see who the guy is in charge. He's got the stripes and that. I saw him and I said, listen, I'm very sorry. I said, I will not tell you lies. I said, we're the Scottish football team. He says, we know who you are. She says, we know where you stay. I said, okay. I said, I promise you, I'll get them back. I mean, you must have had 4 drinks somehow. I promise you'll get them back and you'll get your money in the hotel. If you come out tomorrow, you phone or whatever, the money will be there. You'll get that money for you. And she says, okay, I trust you. Go. Right? That was it. Go back to the hotel, into the hotel, a long corridor. We knew that nobody else was going to be there because we had that hotel. Nobody else stayed there apart from the team. Walk along, there's a door on the right, it's half open. Arthur and I walk on, Billy Bremner and Wally Young walk in to the room. Wally Young comes back out again. We walked along here about 30 yards or something like that. And then I heard Jock McDonald. Do you know who Jock McDonald is? He's a director. He used to own the distillery up in Inverness. Jock shouting, Joe! Arthur! Come here, get down here. So he goes down. Here's Bremner knocked out. He says, it was Jock McDonald's room. When we walked past, Jock McDonald heard the noise. Bremner had gone into the room, tried to be smart, got his mattress and threw his mattress out the window, but it was only the ground floor one day. And then picked up his briefcase as Jock walked in to throw it out the window, and Jock just belted him. The time we got there, Bremner was knocked out. He says, right, get up to his bed. Okay. So that was it. I get awarded the ball for scoring an goal game. I got on the plane, I got it signed by everybody, including journalists, because I was putting in an auction. I was with Hibs at the time. We stayed in Newton Mearns, and I was put into a golf club I played with in Newton Mearns. I just bounce games that. For charity. And I think it was 2,500 for us, so it was good. And that was it. Monday morning, I get up. Sunday, I wake up. Following Sunday, this is a Wednesday. Following Sunday, waking up to a phone call feeding Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
Used to write for Aberdeen, for the record for Aberdeen. He moved to Glasgow, and because I was staying in Glasgow, I used to play golf with him every Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said, don't bother me at 9 o'clock. I said, I'm feeling terrible. I can't. He says, can't you back? I said, I can't. I'm not going golfing. I'm not going. I said, no, Joe, I'm not talking about that. He says, you not heard the news? And I said, so what news? He says, the SFA made a statement that 5 players from Scotland have been banned for life.
Mm.
And I started laughing. I said, all right, okay, smart ass. I said, what is it you want? What is it? He said, Joe, I'm telling you the truth, honestly. He said, get out and get some of the paper, which I did. And that was it.
Mm.
And then I phoned in Monday to the SFA, demanded a meeting with the council, the councillor, with his group, whoever it is, and they never gave me it. When they gave me one, I got a QC, Margaret Dale, her name was, she's a paraplegic, very clever woman who's a friend of Fiona's family. We got her, and she went up to them, and she said, can't do the work. She says, they are a law unto themselves. Nobody can harm them unless they break the law for something. I don't know. He says, so that was it. And then about 3-4 weeks later, I got a phone call from one of the Kelly brothers at Celtic, who was on the Scottish FA committee at that time. And I picked it up and he said, hello, Joe. And I went, what you want? I wasn't happy with him. And in fact, I think I might have said, what you effing want? He said, I've got good news for you. I said, oh, what is it? He says, we realise that you're not had nothing to do with it and you're being reinstated. And at that point, I sat up and went, oh, yeah, okay. I said, that's great. He says, yeah, you'll be reinstated. I said, oh, good. I said, when? He says, a year and a day from now. That was it. And they put phone in.
And that
was only to cover themselves, to prove, not to let people think that they just died in things without getting the proof or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Arthur and I got reinstated. A year and a month, even told me a lie. A year and a month it was.
But your reinstatement did obviously benefit you because, as you said, you got to play at a World Cup, 17 minutes, but you still managed to go to a World Cup. Scotland went to Argentina in 1978 with a lot of hope and expectation. I think rightly so, but unfortunately things didn't work out on the pitch as it tends to do for Scotland at major tournaments. But for you, what was your abiding memory for going to Argentina, and what was that like representing your country at the World Cup?
So it was just a great experience. You know, to think you're going to represent, I didn't think I'd be representing my country, to be honest with you, but to be picked for that sort of thing. I remember when I got told in a hotel in Glasgow when Ali McLeod was talking to about 200 people about the World Cup. He didn't know we were there because I was on Aberdeen, I suppose. I met him in the toilet after his speech. He said, that was a good speech, but well done. And he says, whisper to me, he said, listen, he says to me, when this finishes, he says, go out, phone your mum and dad. I said, what for? He said, tell them to fight your case for Argentina. And I just felt my whole body. Felt crying. I'm brilliant. He says, don't tell anybody, he says, because it's not in the papers. I got the next morning, it was all about the papers. Already told them. So, and that was it, from that moment on, it was just a great feeling. Apart from the fact that the jabs that we got, because we were going away, I took it on the way over on the plane, so I missed all the happy stuff, the champagne and stuff like that. It was good. It was really good. The experience was great. The guys, I was in with Derek Johnson and Alan Ruff in a room with 3 beds. And I was the middle bed. And, that was a great experience. But in those days, the perms were in, so I was sleeping one side, I wake up with Derek Johnson, a black perm. And on the other side, now Murphy's blonde part. So, as it was a disaster, a total disaster, because the place we went to, well, first of all, the bus that took us from Cordoba to this Alta Gracia where we were staying, which was 3/4 an hour on a bus to get there. We got there, we changed on another bus, an open top bus to get us up to this, as a hacienda type place. The bloody bus broke down. And me, about 5 of the other boys were pushing as the bus up. So that was our first experience. So I know then there was a disaster happening. Second one was with a swimming pool, no water in it. And we had tennis courts with no bats, no nets. And we went for a game. He asked us one for a game of golf. So 12 years. Kenny Dalglish and Souness and people like that. 12 years went from, we got one set of clubs, we 6 golf clubs and no balls. And that was our game of golf. It was an absolute nightmare.
But still an honour, I suppose, to represent your country at World Cup. The
great thing was that Mexico came to visit. He came to stay with us after their first game, because they had to play a game in Cordoba and we had to play one in Mendoza when they stayed. So they came up, brilliant guys, we're giving each other wee presents and that. We played 5-a-sides each other, with each other and against each other. And it was great, really brilliant. It was a wonderful experience. And then, of course, with all the disasters and the football disasters, we turn on a performance against Holland that was magnificent. Yeah. Absolutely magnificent. The goal of the series, Fiat. And if we just stopped that last goal going in, say 35 yards in the top corner, we'd have qualified. So, a wonderful experience, and a horrible experience in some ways, but a wonderful experience, and no regrets whatsoever.
Oh, that's great to hear. It's been a pleasure chatting you today. Another, I suppose, personal achievement for you would have been, of course, your induction to the Scottish Footballing Hall of Fame in 2019. You're obviously inducted into the Aberdeen Hall of Fame as well. What does it mean to you to be inducted into both those halls of fame?
Oh, it's an honour. Massive. The only thing I regret is, I don't know if other people think they should have got it earlier, but I certainly think I should have done it earlier. I think if it hadn't been for the World Cup thing, it would have been earlier. And if it had been, then my mum and dad would have been alive to see it. So, yeah, great. I think I had the biggest crowd going to the Hall of Fame for Scotland. It was amazing. We had to get 3 tables I had to be from, so near enough 30. Charlie Allen, Ian McIntosh, all my mates.
It was Drew Jarvie who was presenting you the awards.
I couldn't have a nicer pair. For Drew to do it, so I've got all the pictures of that, happy memories. And it was just, I don't know how to explain it, the Scotland one I couldn't believe. I thought it was somebody waiting me off. I would start. And it was a girl. And she said, no, Joe, honestly, and yeah. I said, brilliant. I've never seen it yet. I went down and I got the trophy, but I've never seen the photo in the hall, in the dungeons where they put all the Hall of Famers. But they said it's great. I'll go and see it before I die, that's for sure. But yeah, great honour. I really did think that after all the years that everybody did, or certainly people did think I was a good player, not just a goal scorer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you can really get that sense of pride coming across there in your answer about that as well. And I suppose finally, Joe, it would be amiss not to get your opinion on the current Dons side. How are you viewing Jim Goodwin so far at Aberdeen, and what are your thoughts on the start to the season so far?
Well, I've mentioned a couple of times, but we've never talked football. I think he's done all right so far. I mean, the thing that's annoying me is that all the goals are scored at home, and they can't score away from home. I don't know if I can't make my mind up if it's just we've got a few weaknesses in defence. Definitely, I think.
Yeah.
I'll not mention it. So we've certainly got a lot better, fitter players that way. Football-wise, I don't know. I still watch the World Cup now, and I get bored with it because the ball was back so often. And funny enough, halfway through the World Cup just now, they showed you 1970, 1958 with Pele, 1982. They showed you a few of these games. And the right names games, football games going forward, hard tackles, nobody fought, didn't you blow on them and stuff like that. But hopefully it's going to get better because it did last night. Argentina looked really good last night. Germany get knocked out, big blow. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a different world.
It is. And what about the cup? Obviously, we've got the upcoming semi-final against Rangers to look forward to in January, and then after that, a trip to Darvel as well. Do you think that Aberdeen have got opportunities in the cup this season?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I suppose it goes back to that thing about the mindset, approaching that game with the right mindset.
Exactly. But that should be inbuilt in you all the time. Do whatever you want during the week. Go fly a kite or something if you want to do that. But when it comes to Saturday, you've got this mindset, this determination. And Eddie used to says, go and do your own thing. And when once you've done your own thing, look about you and see your mates that are struggling and help them. And that's what you have to do. Go and help each other, fight for each other. See, when we play a game where I don't know what high pressing is. This game, if it back, isn't the end for me. High pressing to me is when a player gets the ball and 2 or 3 players go looking for it. And you watch the World Cup, it's always like that.
Yeah.
Somebody gets the ball, there's 2 or 3 ready to pinch it off them, And that's what you get. Once you've got it, give it to the better players. Don't think about your pride. Give it to somebody that can use the ball, they use it. Not a centre half or a right backs.
And nudge there. No, but let's hope that we can get to a final. Certainly, win something.
If you're going to play Rangers, there's the time playing them. They haven't been doing too well. They've got a new manager, so there's the time. I'll be in sunny Perth, Australia, watching that game. Darvel, we can't beat Darvel then it's building up, so
no disrespect to anybody from the other.
It's not disrespectful, just telling the truth, you're a professional team, they're not amateur team, but a junior team, get paid expenses maybe, and there'll be a bunch of boys that'll go and probably fight better than Aberdeen. That's when you've got to, Aberdeen must not go out and think they're better than Darvel. Right? Just prove it. That's what you have to do.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end it, Joe. Absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for your time.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, really enjoyed having you on.
Okay.
And there we have it for that very special episode of the Red Tinted Glasses podcast. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did and you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you've not done so already so you don't miss out on more content like this. Follow us wherever you're listening in on audio platforms. Follow us on Instagram at rtg.podcast and on Twitter at rtg_podcast. Once again, where you can find details on how to win that signed bottle of whiskey by Joey Harper and raise money for Aber Necessities. Their details are linked in the description of the YouTube video. Thank you very much once again for tuning in, and until next time, take care.